Tonight, a special in-depth report brought to you by KTXS News and Capital Farm Credit. This is Running Dry, our need for water.
From our lakes to our lawns to our wallets, the drought is hitting everyone. Tonight, we're taking a look at the drought plaguing our region and how we can prepare for the future. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm KTXS Chief Meteorologist Mark Rowlett, joined by the KTXS Weather Team.
Officially, our drought started nearly 5 years ago in October 2010.
How did we get to where we are today? Let's take a look at the weather challenges we've been facing.
2011 brought us the horrible hot summer. In Abilene, June was the second hottest June on record. July was the hottest July on record. August was the hottest August and the hottest month ever in Abilene. The heat was extreme. Abilene had 81 days with temperatures at or above 100, a new record. 21 of those days had temperatures of 105 or higher. Rainfall in Abilene was almost 8 inches below normal. 2012 had just 40 days with triple-digit heat, but the normal is 12. We lost some of the extreme temperatures. Instead, we settled into a more persistent heat. 2012 had the highest annual temperature ever recorded for Abilene. Rainfall was 1.62 inches below normal. 2013 saw the heat begin to break. The average annual temperature was just slightly above normal, and rainfall was 1.63 inches below normal. The number of days with 100-degree or higher temperatures fell to 19 days. 2014 had a little of the heat return, with an average annual temperature nearly 1 degree above normal. Rainfall was the real problem, with a deficit of almost 10 inches. 2014 goes into the record books as the 9th driest year in Abilene. 2015 has brought some hope as rainfall through the first 3 months is about 1 inch above normal. The average temperature has been nearly 2 degrees below normal. But looking at the long term, Abilene's rainfall from the beginning of 2011 through the end of March of this year, we are over 20 inches behind on rainfall. Many are asking if this is the worst drought we've seen. When it comes to lack of water, this very well may be the worst. Looking at the drought monitor from early October 2011, you can see the entire state of Texas was classified as being in a drought. The latest drought monitor map shows the worst drought categories confined to a zone from Dallas to Amarillo and in the Hill Country. Almost half the state is no longer considered to be in a drought. Even though the maps show a lot of improvement in our area, our lakes and reservoirs have not recovered. We are still very much in a hydrological drought, and it could be the worst we've seen. Here's Wayne Lisenby with the city of Abilene.
Hubbard every day is a new historic low. Ivy is close to an historic low. Phantom's not historic low, but it's close. So overall, I would say, yeah, historically, this is one of the leanest times of water supply Abilene's ever seen.
One of the many locations hard hit from the ongoing drought is Monday. We take a look now at some of the specifics from this northern big country town. The water situation in Monday has been dire in recent years, and the concerns continue today. Citizens of Monday draw water from the North Central Texas Municipal Water Authority, which in turn draws water from Millers Creek Reservoir. Back in March, we spoke with David Kuhler, the general manager of the North Central Texas Municipal Water Authority. He sells water out of the lake to Knox, Haskell, and Stonewall counties.
Our lake this morning is at 7.6% of capacity. The lake was built in 1974. It filled up in 78, and it's never been this low before. One time in September, we caught about 9 inches of water in the lake, but really that's about the only time we've caught any this year. And 2013, 12 were about the same, and of course 2011 we didn't catch any.
The watershed resides east of Highway 277, south of Haskell, and north of Weinert to the lake. Millers Creek Reservoir is in the corner of Baylor and Throckmorton counties. The watershed is about 240 square miles. David says the North Central Texas Municipal Water Authority is on level 3 water restriction, while the city of Monday is at level 4.
Our level 3 means that all the entities that buy water from us had to reduce by 25% the amount of water they bought, and that's based on a 5-year average for the previous 5 years. So they had to immediately knock it down by 25%.
What kind of rainfall is needed to put a dent in this drought?
If we were to get a 4-inch rain over our entire watershed tonight, it would solve our problems for years. It really doesn't take that much runoff if you can get it over the whole watershed.
David says the Monday vicinity is around 40 inches behind on rainfall over the past 4.5 years.
You need those 3, 4, 5, 6-inch rains. You need the hurricanes to come up here and stall out once in a while to kind of replenish the lakes and the aquifers and everything else.
The North Central Texas Municipal Water Authority is presently drilling wells to help supplement the water. With Millers Creek Reservoir at its lowest levels in recorded history, a big change in the weather pattern is needed.
We just need rain. We need big rains.
When it comes to water, the city of Abilene receives its supply currently from 3 sources. Our primary source is the Hubbard Creek Reservoir. We recently visited there to see how it's holding up. Where I'm standing, I should be several feet below the water level. But as you can see behind me, there's not much left here at Hubbard Creek Reservoir, and the last bit of it is being pumped out of that station right over there. Hubbard Creek is owned by 4 cities: Abilene, Albany, Anson, and Breckenridge, all of which pump water from this reservoir. In this recent drought, little rainfall has caused lake levels to drop to the lowest seen in over 50 years. Before the drought of 2011 began, aerial footage shows a full lake. But this most recent image taken in January reminds us of how much has changed in 5 years. Docks which once led to water only stand as a visual of how this dry spell has affected the region. Bridge supports that should be underwater are visible from top to bottom. As of this drought special, the reservoir stands at just over 10% full. 2011 was the worst of the drought, and we've been slightly improving since then, but it will take several years for these 50-foot bridge pilings behind me to go back underwater where they belong. Reporting for the Hubbard Creek Reservoir in Breckenridge, Hayden Nix, KTXS News.
In the months of July, August, and September of 2014, Haskell, Knox, Stonewall, Jones, and Fisher counties grouped together to fund a cloud seeding project. We recently visited with the Haskell city manager to ask about the results of the project and to see if cloud seeding could return this year. Rain is so precious that some communities paid for cloud seeding last year to try and squeeze every last drop out of passing clouds.
Well, we didn't really know. We just knew that maybe there was an opportunity out there to enhance some rainfall. Obviously, we went in there thinking, man, we'll brew up a rain and it'll fill up our lake in one night. But I think from a common sense perspective, we realize now that that wasn't ever going to be the case.
Though results were not what they thought, Brandon Anderson, Haskell city manager, says numbers from the project showed that they did see a 7% increase in rainfall. That's 7% more than they would have received without cloud seeding.
Obviously, there's skeptics still of the science of cloud seeding. And we're not saying this is what's going to fix all of our problems. But at the same time, what we've talked about many times is the fact that we need to be doing everything that we can to try to get us out of this drought time that we're in. Not counting the cost for plain fuel and flares, the cost of cloud seeding was about $120,000 to run it. We recently touched base with Brandon Anderson by phone. He told us that another cloud seeding project will be getting underway this spring. He also mentioned a few more counties may get involved as well.
A recent report out of the Climate Prediction Center showed that a weak El Nino has been in effect. We have already seen good amounts of rainfall since the beginning of January, but will it continue? Meteorologist Hayden Nix gives us an update on what we can expect this year.
Since the start of 2015, the city has seen good amounts of rainfall. Here's how it breaks down. As of March 31st, our year-to-date total stands at just over 5 inches. That is just under an inch above normal from where we should be this time of year. Why such an above-normal average? This is likely the reason why that happened. An El Nino is a phenomenon near the equator in the Pacific Ocean where water temperatures can become warmer than normal. Those warmer waters push the tropical jet stream more northward, which helps in rainfall production over West Texas. At the beginning of this year, that pattern was weak, but was present. According to the Climate Prediction Center, above-normal precipitation impacts happen between the months of September through March for this region. In some cases, the effects of El Nino can last through May. Beyond May, we're more likely to see drier weather. Recent rainfall has provided good moisture for the soil and spring vegetation, but if drier conditions hold out to be true, we could see our drought situation stick around or continue to worsen this year. Closely watching the weather in the Big Country, Hayden Nix, KTXS News.
We all know water runs downhill. In Texas, downhill is toward the Gulf of Mexico, so potentially all rainfall runoff ends up into the Gulf of Mexico. Unfortunately, only about a third of the rainfall becomes runoff that can actually get into a reservoir. The other 2/3 of the rainfall ends up becoming evaporation or being soaked into the ground, which is not a bad thing, but it doesn't help to fill up a reservoir. How does that rainfall get into the Gulf of Mexico? Well, it flows through one of the major river basins in the state of Texas. In our part of the world, the two major river basins that drain our region are the Brazos here in the north side and the Colorado on the south side. But you see, we've got many reservoirs that we've built on the tributaries and streams that feed these major rivers, so we are intercepting some of that runoff before it can actually get into the main channel. If you're trying to fill up a reservoir in our area, for example, Hubbard Creek Reservoir, the rainfall has to fall right inside of this blue line. If it falls outside of it, it doesn't feed into the reservoir. So we need rainfall not only across the area, but we need it in the right place in order to fill up a reservoir. So if it rains in this area, that runoff may potentially get into Hubbard Creek Reservoir to fill it up. If it rains on the east side of Breckenridge, that rainfall runoff goes somewhere else. If it rains in Anson, it goes somewhere else. If it goes into Abilene, it probably ends up into Lake Fort Phantom. So again, we need rainfall across the area, but we also need it to fall in the right place to fill up a particular reservoir.
Lake Fort Phantom Hill could see better days soon thanks to a completed project by the city of Abilene. It's one part of Abilene's drought response project. It takes wastewater from Abilene, Tuscola, and Tye and treats it at the Hamby Wastewater Treatment Plant. Then an average of 7 million gallons of water is treated further than put back into Lake Fort Phantom Hill. Reclaimed water is now making its way into Lake Fort Phantom. The lake is low, only about 30% full because of the drought. The 12-month, $82 million pipeline project was completed just after we brought in the new year.
Our people expect us to have water for our city, and to do that, we have gone above and beyond with drought response projects that have made this, and an average of 7 million gallons a day is a big, big opportunity.
Before it gets to the lake, the effluent water first makes a stop at the Hamby Wastewater Treatment Plant. Wastewater from surrounding areas is treated, flows through this tunnel, and out into Lake Fort Phantom. But don't worry, the treated water meets all requirements from the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality.
This is what the water looks like, and in many ways it looks like the water that just came out of your sink.
And it's not meant to fill the lake, but to supplement it. And remember, this is just the first part of Abilene's drought response project. The other two projects should start within the year.
A team of researchers at the University of Texas have a new project to help understand future droughts. Todd Caldwell from UT recently visited the Grace Museum to talk about the project. It will provide information for determining the chances of droughts and floods from underground sensors around the state. The information, called the Texas Soil Observation Network, would then be linked to a NASA satellite for observational and study.
I think there's opportunities now that weren't available during the droughts we've seen in the past. There's new satellites that are available, there's new sensors that we can deploy, and there's new models that exist that we can use to better figure out how things are operating that we didn't have in the 50s.
Caldwell said our monthly expectations of rain seem to be dropping off, and parts of the state are starting to look more like a desert.
We're just getting started here on Running Dry, our need for water.
Still to come, who owns our water and how does a community get their water? We'll explore those answers when we come back.
Throughout our special tonight, we'll share tips on how to save water at your house. First, watch how long you spend in the shower. If you keep it under 5 minutes, you could save up to 1,000 gallons a month. It's also better to shower rather than take a bath. A full bathtub requires up to 70 gallons of water.
Whether your dream escape to the country is just a few acres with a weekend home, a sprawling ranch to pursue that deer of a lifetime, or a peaceful place in the piney woods, Capital Farm Credit is the only lender you need to know. For nearly a century, we have provided financing solutions, helping Texans realize their dreams of land ownership. So my question is, why not Capital Farm Credit? We're the answer.